Hey guys, welcome back to our series on adoption. And today we want to talk about how we brought our son home and the first experiences we encountered after he got home. And I must say, we thought that it was only the child who has to adopt to the new family, but we figured firsthand that we too had to adapt to this new person that was coming into our lives.
Yeah, I mean, we chose to have a kid coming into our lives and family, but nevertheless, in the beginning, it was just a stranger, and yeah, it was adjusting on our side as well as on his.
Yeah, and we talked about how we would have to learn to love this new person that came into our lives, and we knew that we took this decision of adopting Christy, and we didn't know in the beginning what challenges we might face or what we're gonna encounter on our way. But we knew we would have to learn how to love him and how to show him affection, even though this might have not come naturally, like it did, for example, with Elsa after I gave birth.
Yeah, so we think it is for us, it was more of a choice to love him because, I mean, the things that Elsa did that were annoying, we probably grew with them, and it was a bit easier to accept them. But when a new kid comes, then you have to accept his issues and his way of expressing anger and anxiety and uncertainty, and yeah, that could be a bit different and tougher to accept. So loving him was more of a choice in the beginning, especially than it probably would have been for a biological child.
Yeah, and what was shocking for us as days went by was his understimulation and the fact that he was a 2-year-old boy, but cognitively speaking, he was just a 6-month-old baby. And it's not abnormal to have expectations, it's just that we didn't know what to expect. And since we had Elsa and she was a little bit older than Christy, 7 months older than him, we thought, okay, there might be a few differences between the two of them, but we didn't know that the differences will be so big. And not only was he a little bit younger than Elsa, 7 months younger, but his cognitive development was of a 6-month-old baby.
Yeah, I mean, we knew he was underdeveloped and understimulated, but we really didn't know the extent to which that went. And when he came home and we sit down to eat something, we realized he didn't recognize any solid food that didn't resemble McDonald's, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't know what a banana was. He didn't even have the courage to try it out for first 2 or 3 days.
I think even longer.
Yeah. Of course, he didn't know when we named that fruit or vegetable, but he didn't even had curiosity or courage to try it out while we were eating in front of him with Elsa as well. So
probably it was out of fear because he didn't know us. He didn't know. I mean, we were strangers to him too, and I think he also experienced the shock of being removed from the foster family where he lived into a new family with us. I mean, he saw us a few times, but I wouldn't say he was attached to us so that he would have enough courage to try out foods or new things. But like Gabi said, he really didn't know a lot of things, and it wasn't his fault, really. It wasn't his fault because children and small kids learn from adults who are around them, and because there weren't people who took their time to teach him, he just ended up not knowing things that, let's say, a child that grows in a normal family gets to learn by that age.
yeah. And then food was just one of the issues, which is much better now. There were also social interaction issues. He didn't know how to react when somebody was crying. He started laughing. He thought it was funny, probably. Yeah, he of course didn't really notice people that much in the beginning. That improved over time.
And he didn't make eye contact as well.
Yeah, eye contact
Really
with us as well was a big issue. It took some time to adjust. And then the emotional issues, those were the biggest ones, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're still going on, so probably those ones will take more time, maybe years to.
Yeah, but it's much better now, and now he's much more empathetic, and he I remember in the beginning we were singing at night before we went to bed, and we were singing all these all these kids songs, and he wouldn't even move his hands like we did. He didn't even imitate us, and it was just us trying. I mean, I was actively trying to move his hands so that he would imitate us, and so, in order for him to learn. And I remember we were sitting at the table once, and we were eating, and we wanted to teach him how to say water in Romanian, and we knew that he couldn't say words. It was too early for him, but at least I tried to like point with his finger towards the water, and he was really reluctant. And
Yeah. He was used to just asking for stuff by looking at the different objects in the room, and then we were supposed to understand what he wants and to guess and give him that thing or food, whatever. And of course, we understood what he wanted, but we decided to help him or make him at least point to those objects to show intent, to show that he wanted to get those objects, even though he couldn't name them yet. At least make the effort and extend his arm and show to something and point to something.
And in the beginning, he was crying. He was crying even when I would take his finger and teach him how to point to things. And I really didn't understand why he was crying. But after a while, after I spoke to the therapist that we were taking Christy to, she told me that it's normal. It's normal when he learns new things, and he might be afraid in the beginning to try out new things. Everything that he was experiencing, all the input that we were giving him, I think it might have been a lot for him, since he was so neglected and wasn't stimulated, and all of a sudden he got all this input from the outside world and from us, and he took his time, and he needed time. I mean, we both needed time, and he needed time, and Elsa needed time for the new adjustment. And I think it happens even after you give birth to a second child, and the second child comes home, and then the first child has to adapt, and then everybody has to find their own rhythm. So I think we experienced that after we brought Christy home.
Yeah, it's change management as well. In any company, when you come and you ask some users to change their process, especially if it seems to be a bit more complex for them. I mean, Christy just had to look at something and he received that. But now he had to point to it and maybe even name it. So the process was more complex for him. Of course, he was unhappy with it. Yeah, but in the end, if you understand the big picture that helps you develop, then you start doing it. But yeah, in the beginning, you just have to obey and change your behavior. Yeah.
And in the meantime, we also tried to help Elsa get used to the new life that we were starting, and get used to the new person, Christy, that came into our family. And I tried to take time and spend time separately with her and talk about how Christy came into our family, how things will change a little bit, but that doesn't mean we don't love her as much, or that we don't care about her or her needs. And I think it was difficult for her as well, because in the beginning I think she said a few times that she wants us to send Christy back to the foster family, and I could understand. I mean, she was the only child for almost 3 years, and it was a big change for her too.
Yeah, she being very, very attached, especially to her mother. I think that she felt that she was losing some of this attention and time that she had with Teddy. So in the end, that seemed to weigh more than the joy she got from playing with Christy together. Especially in the beginning, they didn't interact that much. They started interacting more and more over time. Yeah, so the first weeks were really nice. She was very happy that Christy was with us, because she'd been praying for that in the past months. But after 2 weeks, she said, "Yeah, no, it's fine. We pray together. He can go back home."
And actually, she asked me a few times, "Well, Christy is almost my age. Why can't I play with him? And why doesn't he talk back like I'm talking to him?" And I told her, "Elsa, he needs time. He will talk to you. He will play with you. He will notice you a little bit more. But we just have to give him time." Because she also expected, since he was almost her height and her weight, she also expected child that would answer, that would respond to her initiations. So it took time.
Yeah, I think one of the other elements which made it a bit tougher for us, for all of us, was that Christy was already quite big, but very underdeveloped emotionally and socially, and everything that related to movement as well. So he was running, but almost always tipping over while he was running.
On his
And
tiptoes.
yeah, he was running on his tiptoes. Almost with every step, he looked like he was going to fall. And I mean, he was moving, he was big, but he was so unsafe while doing it, and he had no fear, no understanding of what is dangerous, be it something sharp or even fire, I guess.
It was hot, yeah, he didn't
or
notice.
stairs, he would just not look where he was walking up, because he observed so many, so much around him, and he was never looking where he was, where his next step was. So he would have some 2 or 3 stairs and fall down there because he just didn't look. So that made it a bit tough also for us, because we had to really watch him like you would a baby, but the baby would move much slower. So yeah, there was another issue, another challenge right there.
Yeah. But another thing that he was doing, I think he was trying to get our attention in the first 2 weeks and probably the first months. He would open drawers and close them, or open doors and close them, and just make the sound. So I would look to him and I would give him attention, and I was trying to give him attention, obviously, and Elsa as well, and I tried to play with them and spend time with them as much as I could. But at one point, I remember I was so fed up with this way of him wanting attention from me. It wasn't that I wouldn't give him attention, it was just the sound, like repetitive sound of opening doors or opening drawers. And I asked the therapist that I was doing therapy with, Christy, like, what should I do? Should I encourage this behavior or not? And she said it will go away after a while, but now he sees that he is getting attention, and since he didn't get attention for 2 years, and he gets attention now, he wants even more and more and more to make up for the lack of affection and attention that he didn't have in the first years of his life.
So fortunately, we were able, as soon as he came in our home, to take him to therapy. And Teddy, you did that most of the time?
Yeah, I tried to find a good therapist for him who would do play therapy with him, and we found physical therapist as well, since he was moving a little bit like insecure. He wasn't really sure like where his limits were and what he was able to do. So we were doing that 4 times a week. 3 times we were doing play therapy, and 1 time we were doing physical therapy. And he was, I mean, it was normal. He was really afraid to let me go. At the first sessions, I would stay with him and I would attend the therapy that he was doing, but after a while, me and the therapist thought it was good that he would do therapy by himself, and it was a really hard process for him to let go of me. And after a while, he got used to it, but then at home, the first, I think it was 4, 5, or 6 months, he would cry his eyes out when I would go to the bathroom. And he was thinking probably that he would lose me, that he won't see me again. And we kept explaining, I'm just going to the bathroom, I'm coming out. I always came out from the bathroom. So it took time for him as well to see that we're not leaving, or that if we're leaving, we're coming back, and we're not going to neglect him like he was used to. And
it took him quite a while to feel, or to attach, or to feel safe with me. Especially when he was only with me. Probably because he missed a father figure in his foster family before. So probably he didn't get love or attention from male figures before. But it took maybe half a year almost to kind of adjust to me.
It took.
And even now, I mean, when he needs somebody to help him calm down, he goes to you.
But I think I think it's a natural bond between
Probably,
kids and their mothers. But like you said, we were going in the park, we would take walks, the four of us, and he would literally cry. I think he even cried for half an hour or something, that Gabi was holding his hand and not me. Because sometimes we took turns, I held his hand and I held Elsa's hand, and I tried to make peace between the two of them, but he would literally cry when you would take his hand and
Yeah.
just stroll around, and he just didn't want to accept your hand.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing that it was hard for him as well was now that he came into our family and he saw, like I said, that he was getting attention and affection. The first getaway that we did, it was in the mountains, and there was this incident. I mean, it was out of the blue. It happened out of the blue. I was on the couch, and Elsa wanted to come to cuddle, and he wanted also to come and cuddle, and I put Elsa on one leg and him on the other leg, and he would just push Elsa away like she was the worst enemy. And I said, look, I have two kids, I have two legs, I have two arms, one on one leg, one on the other. And I kept telling him that I love you, we love you, you are in our family now, Mama loves you, like I love Elsa. And he wouldn't stop, And I think after 10 or 15 minutes, at one point Elsa said, Mom, can I go and sit on Daddy's lap? And I said, yes, of course you can. And after she left and she came to you, it was only then that Christy finally calmed down and stopped crying when he was alone with me. And I felt I was really, I wouldn't say sorry for him, but I felt like he was fighting like nail and tooth for my affection, and he had my affection. But at the same time, I think he saw Elsa as a potential like enemy, since she got my affection as well. So this was something that he had to adjust to.
Yeah. How was it for you, Teddy? What was your emotional reaction having to manage now two kids? I was going back and forth to Germany to work. How was your emotional reaction in the first months?
Okay, I'll start with the first 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, me and the kids went to a camp for adoptive families, and it was a really nice camp organized by the support group that we were attending. And Christy, like I said, he was so attached to me. He would just sit in my arms, and it wasn't enough if I was sitting on a chair or if I was sitting down and holding him. He wanted me like to stand up, and he wasn't really light baby, so to say. And at one point I said, look, my back hurts, we're gonna sit down, I'm gonna hold you, everything's gonna be fine. And he just wouldn't. He would start crying. And one of the volunteers said, look, I'm gonna take him, I'm gonna try to take care of him so you can attend your seminars. And he would cry. Obviously he would cry every time I would leave, and he would cry even when I came back. He would cry because he only wanted to be with me. And I remember on our way back home in the car, he was having his pacifier, and we tried to take out his pacifier from his everyday routine. And this period coincided with us coming back from the camp, and he was crying. I think he cried for an hour and a half in the car until we got home to Bucharest. And I felt his cry as a cry of a stranger, because I didn't know the cry. And going on for an hour and a half, and I kept telling him, Christy, we're going home, Mama's gonna hold you, it's gonna be fine. And I also started crying because he was crying because she got annoyed. And then I remember I left Elsa to sleep at my in-laws, and I was alone with Christy at home. And after I put him to bed, I started crying, and I said, God, you have to give me love. You have to give me love for this child, because there are so many things that I have to get used to. There are so many things that I have to accept, and so many things that I have to learn. Because, I mean, nobody is born with all the knowledge in the world, and you learn how to parent. And I prayed, and I talked to Gabi, and I said, we have to pray. It's going to be a challenge, but we're not in this alone. And God answered our prayers.
Yeah, so it was a very tough start, very tough few first months. There were also little glimpses of light every now and then when we saw that he finally was improving a bit here and there. But it was a very, very tough start. Anyways, in the next episode, we want to share more about the challenges, but also the joys that came with having Christy now in our home and just going through and just having our daily life with him and Elsa together as a family of 4. So thank you for watching. Have a great day.
We would be really happy to hear from you, so please leave us a comment in the comment section below, and see you next time!